there, which is probably nobody right now, unless you're listening to the recording. I'm here for another on psilocybin. This one's going to be unique in multiple ways. Um, if nobody gets on the call with me, it's just going to be me talking to myself. And I'm at least starting the call out doing laundry, folding laundry. What in the world? Why is he folding laundry? Is he just bored? Is he overwhelmed? Is he crazy? Does he not care how he looks on live video? Well, there's actually a psychedelic story to the laundry. Oh, I used to be the most unorganized, especially, and I'm not the most organized now, but especially in my clothing, I was super unorganized. Like many men out there whose mothers picked up after them every day or who hired help to come clean the house. I was one of them. I admit it, I was one of them. Not that there's really anything wrong with that, as long as you also teach your kids to fold their fucking clothes too. But I never did that. I never folded my clothes. I just threw my shit on the ground, and then somebody else came by me and picked it up. And wow, that like actually carried through a lot of my life, um, up until probably about 3 years ago now, maybe something like that. Um, on a mushroom trip, I realized, and this is a deeper lesson here, I started to realize very clearly, very powerfully, that our outside world is a reflection of our inside world. And my life has been a bit chaotic at times. Some of you may know that I have acknowledged the fact that I would, well, I mean, it's not a fact, but the likelihood that I would be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I am quite fucking crazy. You can bet. But you know how you can hang on, how you can hang on to mushroom trips if you ain't a little crazy. So anyway, the mushrooms showed me very clearly that my outside world was a direct reflection of my inside world, and I started looking around and seeing, there's some stuff in my outside world that is a bit chaotic. Maybe there needs to be some reflection done, and that is, I don't really know how it got there. I think, I've just heard through my life, at least my married life, my lack of laundry skills were um, deplorable, and they were frequently criticized, and understandably so. I was a messy fuck. Um, and I don't know where it really hit, but I started to conceive of the notion that if I cleaned up my outside world, that it would start to clean up my inside world. Well, we got 7 people listening already. Hey, let me share the little link, and I think that will let you hop on if you want to. We can talk about folding laundry, or we can talk about whatever. Anyway, this is really more of an integration conversation. So it hit me eventually at some point. Don't really know what. Courtney could probably pinpoint that better for me. But I started to take note of my laundry in particular. That's what it was. You go to your clothes drawer and you're like, oh, it's a mess. Why is it all a mess? Why isn't somebody keeping this clean? And then you realize you're the somebody. So I was like, all right, we're going to give this a start here. And Marie Kondo, I have mentioned her before. Marie Kondo, you ever want to team up and be like you be like Martha Stewart, I'll be like the Snoop Dogg, and we'll do a thing. But I watched her Joy of Tidying, I think is what it was called, and she talked about folding clothes and removing things that don't bring joy to your life, and it made a lot of sense to me. Like just all the clutter. It's just there's so much stuff. And so I started pulling clothes and getting rid of clothes that I didn't wear and that I was just hanging onto out of some kind of sense of guilt. Folding my undies right now, so I'm gonna keep them down low. They're pretty nice though, actually. And so I followed some of her instructions, started folding my clothes, and lo and behold, I really did feel much more sane. The first thing you do in the morning, you go to your drawers, you take a shower or whatever, however your routine is. You got to get dressed at some point on most normal days. And you do that, you're confronted with how you do your laundry, or if you're fortunate enough to have someone else do it, then how they do it. But I was confronted with how I did my laundry. I didn't like it. And so I started working at it. And at first it was tedious and annoying. And then I started to realize like how much order it actually brought into my mind, especially first thing. And so over the years, as I've benefited from it, as Courtney has benefited from it, see, the thing is, you want to make nice little pouches. Those are some big baggy shorts, and they just fold them into a nice little pouch, and then you stand them up. You don't lay them down. That's one of the big mistakes we make. We got to stand our laundry up. It's much easier to pull out that way. Anyway, this is really all about integration. This is what a large part of what integration is. We have such an idea that integration is getting together and talking about your experiences with your therapist or your psychedelic coach or your friends or whatever it is. And while there's certainly truth to that, that is one form of integration. There are so many other kinds of integrations for your psychedelic experience. I think the first one that is not talked about enough is doing what the mushrooms tell you to do, right? Like that is, I'm going to go ahead and post this link here. That, in my experience, is the most important part of integration. You get information when you consume psychedelics, particularly mushrooms. They're really good at speaking, right? Psilocybin says. And so what do you do with it then? And the truth of the matter is we very often need accountability in helping that happen. If I hadn't had Courtney here and I hadn't kind of verbally made the commitment and started the process, seeing how it helped, and then engaged in it with someone there, again, like that accountability factor, it probably would have faded away. And it has been one of the most powerful shifts that I have ever gone through in my life. And that's another thing that's really worth noting is that we're all often looking for that big shift, right? I'm going to realize my eternity, or I'm not afraid of death, or I got over my trauma, or whatever it is. But the small shifts, like deciding to fold your clothes, can really initiate a cascade. I have non-laundry related things we can talk about. All right, we'll get you there, Eric. This is really actually psilocybin related because, like I said, this has been a big integration piece for me. And like I said, noticing the small shifts that have such a big impact, which is something else that over the years I have continued to learn. I have been all about the big doses, and I still am. I love it. I love a good big dose of most psychedelics. But the small doses, the small, subtle experiences that you have where you just, think about things a little differently. You see things just a little tilt. And the impact is usually a significant space of time ahead, but the impact is very real. So, yeah, Eric, if you want to hit that link, man, you're welcome to hop in. I think that hopefully that's visible for you there. If it's not, just let me know, and I'll find a way to make it. Tristan couldn't be with us tonight, which is all good. This is really my gift, whether or not people see the value in it. There is a ton of value actually, though, in this whole laundry integration thing. So yeah, it's up to anybody. I have not. I'm still waiting here. Oh, there you are. All right, cool. Here we go. Eric, what's up, brother?
Not much, man. What's going on?
You looking at it?
I can't see you. What's going on here?
Oh, really? You don't see me?
Hang on. Oh, wait. I just need to scroll up.
There you go. There you go. What's going on in your psilocybin world?
Well, I just got DNA confirmation on my Indianapolis collection of
Nice.
that new Psilocybe.
Uh-huh. And?
It's that new species. There's no name for it yet. He's called as it was Stephen Russell that gave me the confirmation. He's calling it it's a bunch of initials, PA01. It's Psilocybe species PA01, I think is what he's calling it.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean crap. But essentially it's the same as the section Aztecorum that Alan Rockefeller already identified.
Man, that is really awesome. But with Alan, who was the first to discover that? Do you know who actually found that first sample?
I'm not sure who was first. Man, I always draw a blank when somebody puts me on the spot trying to come up with a name.
No, it's not that important. I was just curious.
I have known the names of both of those people, and I think the one in Iowa is not in my group, but the one that was in Pennsylvania, I believe, is in my group, my Midwest Psilocybe Hunters group. And then the guy that found the one in Ohio, I believe, joined my group after he found it.
Okay.
So I think 3 of the 4 of the finders are in my group at this point. And the other guy, I can't remember his name, but he's a pretty into mushrooms in general. He's not really just into psilocybin, but I've seen him around in a lot of identification groups. And Ross Salinas, that's his name.
Okay. So do you know anything about the cultivation of Aztecorum?
I don't know anything about cultivating it, no.
I'm pretty sure that I've seen that they have been cultivated. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I would say that's very possible.
It's that's one that I know probably the least about in terms of environment in South America, Central South America. What describe the environment they were growing in up here again?
So the collection that I've got was found December 16th in downtown Indianapolis. It seems like the weather that week was around the 60s. It was warm for that time of year, I would say. But it was found in a mulch bed.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
So yeah,
that should be pretty easy to cultivate then, if it's growing from the mulch.
Sure. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I got some Jack Frost cubensis that's coming up in my compost. I got several big pretty ones. I'm gonna go pull those in a minute here and show the camera, whoever watches this whenever. We're getting about anywhere from probably 60 to 100 and something views on YouTube once these posts later on down the road.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean it's just a thing to do, man. You know.
Oh yeah. Everything starts somewhere. You shouldn't worry about numbers too much because, I mean, these videos are going to be on YouTube for a long time to come, and people will be watching them. You're doing some good stuff here.
Well, aren't we all really? I mean, the whole wide world, even the people that are doing bad are doing good somehow.
Sometimes I think the people that are doing bad are doing a lot more good than we are.
I don't know. It's
at least good for themselves.
I think that whole bad good thing gets a little blurry, you know.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, a lot of that is just perspective. There is certainly stuff that's happening that is disagreeable to most. I think that's worth recognizing. But even that, still, it's like, you know, they got that big new telescope firing up at NASA, you know, seeing deeper images of the galaxy. And surely there's some Earth-like places out there spinning around stars. And I don't know. I mean, they're probably dealing with their little laundry shit too. But how you know, in the big picture, can you look at that star and say anything's good or bad about it? You know, or that system that's out there.
Right.
You know, it's it just is. It's doing what it does. So, and that's all this, man. You know, finding in the mushroom thing, like what really is it that we have new species other than just like another point of interest and expansion and finding out that there's more stuff out there to find.
The most exciting thing about this species is not that it's a new species. It's the fact that it was in Indiana to begin with, because it's the first that Stephen Russell knows of in history being documented in Indiana. So
psilocybin species?
Psilocybe.
No, there's ovoids up there. I know a guy that picks tons of ovoids up there.
None have been documented.
Oh, really? Well, shit.
So if you know somebody that's finding them, they need to be documenting them. They don't have to tell where they're finding them, but it'd be nice if they would, you know, give a roundabout idea so that.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's not been any documentation. I've looked, and I led that foray at Clifty Falls, and we didn't find squat. And directly across the river, the next day or later that day, I found 2, and then the next day, just a little ways down the river, I found, you know, quite a few more.
Right. No, this guy, he's a medical doctor up in Indiana, and he is the one who actually told me about ovoids when they were first being just found in, you know, scattered numbers, you know, and he was finding them up there in creek beds. I don't know. It's probably, gosh, I started picking ovoids in 2016. I think 2015. I know it. 2015 is when he started finding ovoids. 2016, he was finding a bunch in like creek bed type environments up in Indiana. And then 2016 is when I first found, and the biggest season I ever had was 2016. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Probably had like 20 fresh plants overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
well, if you happen to talk to that guy again, tell him start documenting some of this stuff. Put it on I-Naturalist or something, because there's Alan Rockefeller's got it on the list for Indiana, but as of yet, there's no actual there's nothing to back that up. It's just.
So does somebody have to turn in a sample, like to really document it? Wouldn't he have to turn in a sample?
I mean, that would be the preferable way, but at least good pictures. And you know, a location that would put it inside of Indiana.
So what about pictures? What about pictures of this this new one, this Astacorum? Where can people that are listening find is there a readily available place where people can go see pictures of this?
If they can look up my I-Naturalist, they can find what I've got on there, and that Ross Salinas he's got on there. I can try to drop you a link to it, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
Right on. I'm gonna hit Steven up too. It's been a long time since I talked with Steven. That'll be a good way to.
Yeah. And he's got linked to it also, I'm sure, because he's put his DNA stuff on it. He didn't put his DNA on it, I should clarify, but.
That's awesome. He's really been, man, it's years he's been going on with that. I really respect that people just hang on. You know, you just keep plugging, man. It's like you said, like a podcast or anything. If there's anybody out there that's listening to this and you think that maybe you want to start a podcast or you want to write a book or whatever it is, man. Like so many things in life, we just like sit on our hands and think about like, oh, well, if I do, it's going to take this long and I got to do all this. And what are people going to say? And I don't know what I'm doing. put all that shit aside, man. Just put all that shit aside. Get out there, and woman, get out there and get started, and just see what you can contribute to this world. There are people out there who will benefit. I mean, like, just imagine yourself, like, if you know, it doesn't seem, that's what I was kind of getting at, like, to a lot of people, it doesn't seem like a big thing that we've been really diving into mushrooms like we have been for the past 20 or 30 years here in the US. But this is a vein of knowledge that contributes to our quality of life in ways that we still have only just begun to perceive, you know. So every little thing that we add to the body of knowledge is it's just expanding it.
That's the way I look at it. When I I was interested in magic mushrooms and all that, but really when I started getting into really learning the mushrooms that were around me, I knew that there was some magic mushrooms around, but I didn't know how many. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew that they were around. But then the more I learned that there was almost no knowledge of any of it. For Indiana, I mean, Alan Rockefeller's done amazing work. And I wouldn't have had any place to even start without him. But as soon as I found his list, it was maybe a week, and I was already getting him to add Gemmopolis ludifolius to Indiana, because one of my friends had found it, and I was able to help them identify it with his help, because I'd never even seen it. But then he got that. I'm sorry. What was that?
Do you know how many species he's cataloged at this point?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
He has cataloged at this point? Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
He's in the U.S. Yeah. And again,
he's got another one. He's got another one out in California. There's another new species that kind of looks like Canosabe delicescence. It just almost looks like the cap is just kind of melted onto the stem. Anyway, he's gotten some DNA on it now, just here recently. I don't remember what it was that he was calling it right now, but yeah, he's always got something new going on. There's new species popping up everywhere. It seems like it, just anywhere people are looking, pretty much.
Yeah, I wonder, do you know anything about that species that was found in San Francisco? It was a big capped wood lover. Stamets wrote about it in, I think they ended up naming it Alania or something like that for John.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that in terms of its entry into cultivation? I don't know that I've ever seen spores or anything of that floating around. You know anything about that?
I think I've got some spores for Alania. I've never tried growing them, but I'm pretty sure I've got some. I don't know that much about them. Generally, what I do is if I've got spores and somebody wants to trade me the spores that they've got, then I do the trade.
Okay.
So I get all kinds of interesting stuff, and the more interesting, the more I like it.
Yeah, that's one for me, I guess, just because it was one of the first new North American species that I had heard of, and just curious about it.
Yeah, I don't remember where I found those at, but there's a few people that have got them around, but I'm pretty sure they're all just, they go around and just find them, in mulch beds and stuff. I don't think they're cultivating them.
Yeah, well, I mean that when I speak of cultivation of wood lovers, I'm talking about mulch bed cultivation,
outdoor.
Yeah.
Spreading the mulch.
Yeah, just mycelium transplants. That's
right.
favorite, Oh, yeah, the cubes that I have, I'm gonna go grab in a minute here, are actually just some old compost that somebody was getting rid of,
Yeah. Did you ever try frying some up in the skillet?
No, I did not. I forgot you even said that. So
you try it once, you won't ever want them any other way. I'm telling you.
I mean, I can imagine that they're delicious like that, but I'm just like, I'm thinking about how I've been eating mushrooms for years, and like, I mean, you don't have to, obviously, you just eat them cooked, but I'm thinking, like, are you putting them on other foods?
Oh yeah, I've done that on hamburgers.
Yeah, see, that ain't gonna fly for me. I mean,
I eat them just plain. Also, they're delicious any way you eat them. They taste just like a friggin' portobello. There really isn't any difference in taste.
Yeah, no, they're very buttony. I mean, they're very similar, and the substrate and everything are very similar.
Maybe they might actually be a little sweeter tasting.
Yeah, but what about the potency? Like, it's
Oh, it's still really strong. Yeah, I've not noticed any deterioration of the effects.
Wow.
From it.
Maybe one day, I don't know. I have mushrooms. I mean, I ate some mushrooms back in February. I had like a couple of grams, but yeah, it's just been kind of sitting with it. I've been just being with the experiences that I've had, and haven't really had the time or the space for it with all the stuff going on, kids and life and getting away. And to some extent, that's an excuse. To some extent, I'm just making that up because you can always make time for whatever it is you want to do,
Right.
But
to a point.
There's been a lot of value, though, in taking some space from it here and just really the ongoing process. And it hit me like about a year or maybe 2 years ago now. I remember I started, I don't know if you've experienced this, but after eating mushrooms for a long time, and you see how the processing, the integration, we'll call it, can be 2-5 years in the future. Things start to really come together, right? And a couple of years ago, I just had found myself eating so many mushrooms so regularly and starting to become aware of that cumulative effect, and just thought maybe I ought to give it a minute because I may have a big wave coming that I'm not really aware of.
Right.
Yeah. So I can just feel the mushrooms. I did that the other night. I was kind of listening to this spiritual teacher talking about psychoactive plants and how there are such powerful bridges into this higher knowledge and indeed spirit world of spiritual kind of information and experience. And if you work with the plant truly and have a relationship with it, and you're not just kind of using it, then you will learn its language, and you'll be able to communicate with it without even consuming it so much. And after hearing that, I kind of did a little experiment, having some, like I said, just some kind of feral cubes out here, and going into a meditation where just trying to just get into that spirit of the plant. And man, it more powerful than probably ever. It took me there. It took me to that place of knowing my eternity, right? Not just thinking maybe I'm eternal. Like I know, I ain't no two ways. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't never gone nowhere, and I ain't going nowhere. And this is a ride. And Yeah, and so like I've been able to touch into that so much more strongly in the last week or so, and just realizing like what a joke it is. I mean, today I got myself into a little bit of a funk because things weren't going very well, which normally, or in you know, as I've progressed over the years, that could have extended from days to hours to minutes, you know, and especially with this, you know, I've been calling it my trap door. It's like my trap door in the mushroom world.
Right.
This little trap door, I can get quick entry to realize that, like Ryan Mike is saying here, there's more and more planets like Earth spinning all around us. We're learning about interdimensional beings. Like we're like we are surrounded by so much activity that we can see, not to even mention what we can't see. And like for any of us really to be allowing ourselves to get stuck in this sense of discord, sense of not feeling worthy, sense of feeling lesser than your true value as an eternal being. Like if you're an eternal being, or since you're an eternal being, like how do you want to live eternity? And we make that decision right now. You know, so it's been a thankful little trapdoor for me, and our Sunday service this week, I swear on the Bible, Quran, Talmud, and all of them, I didn't take any substances before that service, and dude, I had the mushroom giggles for the whole thing. Oh,
That's where I generally try to be, just where I get the giggles.
yeah. I'm not going to give my idea for my t-shirt. I got a slogan that includes the word giggle. I'm not going to give away right now. It came up here. We were actually sitting right here, a bunch of mushroom friends. That's been a beautiful thing that I've realized in the last, since moving back to Kentucky here and spending a little bit of time and looking around.
Mm-hmm.
Looking around at my group and, hanging around with 15, 20 people or whatever, and knowing that every single person there is like 100% down with mushrooms, psychedelics, and talk. Nobody has to feel any tension.
Don't have to be afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, and how many people say that, man? It blows me away how many people say, I'm so glad to be like in this like sanctuary community, for instance, because they can talk about their psychedelic experiences without feeling like, ooh, weirdo, It's
right.
It's going to be interesting, really interesting to see how all this unfolds in the therapeutic communities as people. I just foresee it shifting out of formalized therapy, because it's just formalized therapy is going to have to change its paradigm so drastically to be able to contain what this will open up.
I don't know how you could do this kind of therapy and any other kind of therapy at the same time. You would almost have to specialize in this, because, I mean, people do the ketamine treatments too, kind of in the same way. And I've never tried that, and I couldn't even imagine trying to give somebody advice on a ketamine treatment.
Well, what I understand ketamine is like, and I've done some ketamine with a ketamine therapist, at least her method was, you don't talk during the trip. They have some pre and post stuff, but during it, there was no talking really. But I mean, like mushrooms. So I love what you're saying in like this kind of like traditional therapeutic way of trying to talk through the experience. And I've certainly seen a lot of therapists that try to do that with psilocybin. If there is some free advice to therapists out there that value my opinion, don't talk to unless they want to talk. If they want to talk, then like, great, talk.
And I mean, the mushroom kind of leads you through it. You don't really have to do anything.
That's pretty much the beauty of it. As long as you don't go in, or should I say,
going with good intentions.
Well, I mean, as the support person, I feel like the less of a intention that you go in with other than just to be a support in whatever way is called for? Whatever way is called for. I don't know. I'm just going to go in here. Whatever happens, I'm going to show up for that 110%. That's about the only intention I think that the space holder should have. And that's where it gets a little muddy, is that, understandably, in a therapist's career, they've spent their time talking with people, and that's what we're bringing into the psychedelic space, and it has value at certain points. But I've definitely seen therapists that tried to kind of talk through the experience and try to really like ask people like really kind of deep and personal and meaningful questions that may relate, like while they can barely speak. It's like, just back off, let them
right.
thing, let them have the experience, and then yeah. So, but I did a service with a young woman recently, and she talked all through her experience. And I mean, the only thing I make sure of is that, is this person who's talking, are they talking to just avoid the experience, or are they talking because there's actually conscious material coming up, and this is a good time for them to process? And that was certainly the case for this individual who had probably not felt like they had somebody to talk to really in a long time. And that individual is also had been diagnosed with BPD, which, that's been something. I don't know where you're at with your whole mental health and all the labels. I mean, I personally think that every single one out there, all 5 people, somebody just bounced when I started talking about mental health, but everybody who's ever watches this is a neurodivergent. Nobody is truly a healthy normal. There's no such thing.
Right. Well, I like to tell people when I talk about my depression, how could you live in this world and not be a little bit depressed?
Yeah, no, for sure.
There's plenty of depression to go around for everybody, but no, I'm pretty good shape with it. I think I try to take off 1 day a week, but otherwise I microdose, and what I've been taking for quite a while now, because I had a lot of it, is just Gemopolis. And I put it in gel capsules, and I just take one of those a day, which is nothing. I mean, it's nothing as far as dosage goes. You're talking about a really weak mushroom, and then I'm putting it into really small capsules.
A little bit of capsule, yeah. I'm gonna run in here and grab my knife and pick those ones real quick. I remember you saying that it helped you significantly.
They make the world a difference. I can't function without them. So yeah, it worked for sure.
What a beautiful thing! What a beautiful gift of nature, and that's where, for me, that's kind of where I'm trying to relate that my passion for plant medicines, it didn't really originate from the therapeutic or even spiritual benefit of it. It originated for the fact that we should be able to grow every fucking plant that we want to. Fuck off. Like, that conversation is done. You know what I mean? Like, that conversation is done.
It's stupid that we're even having the conversation.
That we're even talking. No, and here in Kentucky, this cannabis thing, I was thinking about that earlier. I ate me a little Delta 9 gummy and just thought, like, how ridiculous is it that we got to, like, dance around the safest plant, the safest drug, however you want to label this thing
that God ever made.
Ridiculous. I'm gonna go. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna go grab these cubes, and I'm gonna clean them right here and share them with you and anybody else.
All right. Well, I guess now would be a good time for me to talk about the mushrooms that are growing right now, since he left me alone to talk. So it's been a drought around here. I don't know if anybody else is getting rain, but I think some of you are. It's still, it's mid-July now. I've kind of missed the first of it, but Gemopolis luteifolius is still kind of around. It really hangs around all year. Gemopolis pulchrifolius is around right now, and Validite, Anosabe insignis, Paniola cinctulus fimicola, and hey, you're back. We've also got two Pluteus this month that are fruiting, Pluteus americanus and Sepoy. And somebody just found one in, where was that? Minnesota, I think. They just found a Pluteus americanus. I think that's where it was in my group.
I saw that.
You saw it, yeah. It had some pretty good bluing on it.
Yeah, I saw that. That gave me an idea.
And he was saying that it had that floral smell, so I would say it probably is americanus. I don't know if the Sepoy has the same smell or not. I've never got any confirmation on that, but as of right now, that's the only thing that I've got to distinguish them until I'm told differently.
Speaking of smell,
yeah,
what else you got?
Smell pretty good. I can't quite smell it here. Oh yeah, that look nice.
Yeah, big fat composties. Yeah, I won't. These won't be used for sacrament. Anything that's coming out of the compost like this, I have been drying, and I want to make like ornamentation or something like that. Dalton wants to know what's the best resource for a newbie to identify mushrooms. What's most recent? What's the best one we got? Where are you at, Dalton? That will help too if you want to get real specific.
Where's you at? I can't see it, so you'll have to tell me.
I'll let you know. And Dalton, you're welcome to hop on here, my man. The link. Let me repost that link again.
Psilocybin Carolepes makes its first appearance in July, and ovoid season is basically over with at this point. I think we've decided.
Carolepes.
Yeah, Carolepes. What'd you say?
He's in Columbus.
Indiana.
Ohio. Sorry, no, Ohio.
I think there's a Columbus in just about every state.
I imagine, yeah.
Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, I mean, you could get my book. It's probably going to be the only one that you're going to find for anything in the Midwest.
But yours is psilocybin specific. Are you looking psilocybin specific?
This is not psilocybin specific. It does mention muscaria, but it's not like super detailed on muscaria.
Okay.
And it does not mention pantherina or anything like that. I don't think we have any of those here. So, but yeah, that's the only thing that we've got in the Midwest as far as I'm aware of. It's on Amazon. It's also on sporeswaps.com. So.
Awesome. That's so awesome you did that, man. I keep saying I'm going to write a book one day, and I guess it's not what I want to do right now because I ain't done it.
That's right. Like you said earlier, if you want to do it, you'll do it.
Yeah, it counts for all of us, buddy. Even the horse that's mouth that comes out of. Look how blue these are starting to get here. Whoa, other way. There we go.
Man, how can you not just fry that thing up and eat it right now?
Cause I got kids to put in bed, and if I was to eat this bad boy, I'd need to find somewhere to lay down for a while. You can see it starting to blow up there. But I'm feeling it. I'm ready. I'm feeling it. I feel like there's there's information trying to make its way to me. But I don't want to force it. I just want to allow it to come when the time is right. I got some friends, members of the church that would like to do a dose pretty soon. We're actually doing a camping retreat at the Great Saltpeter Cave out in kind of around Berea area. We're really excited about that. I mean, a big part of what we're pushing to do at Sanctuary is get more access to more people who are trying to, get closer to their if you want to call it creator, if they want to call it their own spirit, whatever it is, this ineffable. We're all trying to get closer to the thing that is so incredible we can't even put words to it, And I don't know, I was thinking about this today. We did a little podcast. There's some ladies here in Louisville that do a psilocybin podcast. Pretty pretty new. They both had some experiences that were really powerful for them, and so we ended up going doing a episode with them today. And it's like everything. The more you do it, the more you think about it, and you kind of be with it, and the richness of its kind of presence and your understanding of it grows. And I started thinking about this camping retreat that we're doing, and it's by far the lowest cost retreat thing I've ever done. We're doing it for $333 per member, right? And it's
That
a
ain't
weekend. It's a weekend with one dose, 3 meals provided throughout the weekend.
Oh hell!
Bring your own tent. I think it's very reasonable, and
that's really reasonable.
It's been a huge aim of mine for a long time. Really, is to just. I don't want to say. How do I want to say this? How do I feel like this needs to be communicated? First of all, we attach no monetary value to the sacrament whatsoever. It's all donated to our group, and so there's no, and while yes, people's time who are supporting others in that is valuable. A lot of times those people who are holding space are wanting to get better at it, to learn more about it, and so using or leveraging that opportunity where there are so many people, there are so many just regular people who have struggled so deeply, and that when they find the relief that psilocybin, that sacred mushrooms can provide, when they find the relief and they can finally get over that kind of hump of all the shit they've been carrying on the back of their ears, that psychic weight, then they are very often the most excellent helpers within the space, because they've already been through their own personal hell and they've come out of it, so kind of going back to the conversation around the therapist model. Of course, there are so many therapists that are good at facilitating a psychedelic experience, for sure, but there are so many good people who are excellent at just showing up and being support for other regular people that are going through it. So I think that as the sacred mushroom community grows, where people are feeling more comfortable and confident and talking about this as their spiritual religious practice, then you're going to see so much more opportunity for access that is, I will say affordable, because you do, like, there is a price.
That's my thing. I hope that it doesn't turn out to just be something for rich people, like pot kind of seems to be going towards, and like, Colorado and all this stuff gets so expensive that all of a sudden you're back to the illegal market, because the legal market has become so expensive that you just can't afford to be in it anymore.
Well, and I think that's where the churches are going to make the biggest kind of disruption in the psychedelic industry, if you will.
I hope so.
I may be putting my neck too far out there and saying this, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen, because I mean, what else do you see? Like, this is a community supported experience anyway. That's how they've been used for thousands of years for that reason.
What they were putting on the earth for.
Absolutely. I see Ryan saying something about you dry that already. How's that thing smelling? This isn't dry. They're just already bluing just from being potent and being bruised as I handle them. You see the little cap there wiggling around. Smells farinaceous. Smells very, like, got some earthy bitterness in there. Not gonna taste it here right now, but yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking, like, I've got a friend who does some really cool epoxy art, and to like dry these down and maybe make like a pendant or something, out of them. That could be cool.
I'd eat it.
I got plenty of mushrooms if I need to eat mushrooms.
Yeah, but I don't have that many fresh ones.
Yeah.
It's too dry around here for fresh ones.
Have you all started seeing any chanterelles at all, or is it too dry for that?
I've had a half an inch of rain in the last month, and I went out yesterday because we finally had that half an inch of rain, and the ground in the middle of the woods is cracking. So there's no sand trails.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I haven't even looked. I mean, it's just there's no moisture anywhere. So yeah, I've just been sitting in the house and looking at everybody else's mushroom pictures around me.
It's like that sometimes, man. It's like that. Yeah,
Just wishing I could find something.
I'm hoping to go out maybe in the next week. We had a decent amount of rain the last couple of days. I don't know if it's enough to really bring much out, but probably so. We had 2 days of some decent rain. So
yeah, we didn't do that.
No, man, I'm kind of like getting the mushroom feels back on. You know, we had an ash tree fall down in our yard. I'm getting ready to cut that up and do some inoculating there. There's a big maple back there that I'm going to inoculate. And just been doing some like totem stuff with stacks, and I'll do like boar cut and then pack it with sawdust spawn, you know,
yeah,
chainsaw. And it's just been living in Jamaica. I did grow mushrooms there, but I actually did so little of it there because I was involved in the retreats, and back now I'm just kind of like getting back into the intentional conscientious grow. I just love these things, man. I don't know what it is. They've just been such a gift to my life. I mean, I guess I do know what it is. I could name off all the different ways that mushrooms have been so beautifully impactful to my life and so many other people's, you know.
For sure. Yep. They've made everything better on my end.
Indeed.
So, yeah. I don't have a whole lot more to talk about, man. I just wanted to hit you up this month and let you know there was, theoretically mushrooms could be found this month, but
it looked like you were sharing some maps where rain was coming like above and below you, like you were in the middle of and just dry.
Yeah, what was happening is the rain comes to us and then it just disappears. And then it'll show up on the other side of us and be raining south of us, but it never did. It'll never rain over.
Wow.
I don't know what the deal was, but every time it would get to us, it just disappeared. And it's been doing that for the last month. We don't get anything. So I don't know.
I'm tempted to like try to talk about consciously engaging with the weather. You ever have any experiences like that?
At this point I would try anything.
You try anything hard enough and it might produce
right. I mean, I've talked to weirder things, I guess. At least the weather moves around.
Yeah, I don't know. I've certainly seen it in mushroom space. Like, seem like it's targeting other people. Like it's targeting somebody, right? Or
yeah,
I've had times with myself in mushrooms where like, oh wow, this shit is swirling right above me. I'm also without any plant medicine or any altered state had experiences where I felt like there was. If it wasn't happening, there's the ability, that's just another element of nature, like,
yeah,
I think that there is entirely possibility that we can connect with that element and create influence.
Have you ever felt like when you're on mushrooms that you can see if somebody is sick? Like when I look at them, I can say I can look at somebody and tell that they're getting sick. They may not be showing actually any symptoms, but I can just look at them and like, whoa, they've got something.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's true or not. It just seems like it is.
Well, I'd say you're probably picking up on something.
Yeah.
For me, it's not generally visual. It's more of a kind of a feel kind of thing. But yeah, no, there's so many different ways that we can perceive, and there are so many things that if we quiet the background noise, we can perceive so much more deeply, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'll never forget that night, man. We were out down the beach, and the rain pretty much. I mean, the rain always came in from north to south. That's just how it came over the mountain. And this one night we went down there and didn't look like rain at all. It was a nice evening back when we were doing night trips, and got out there with I think probably 5 or 6 people. It was pretty or very early and pretty small group, and this fucking mini storm, like it's just a little bitty mini sail, all by itself, just popped up out of nowhere from the south and came from the south, made a fucking beeline right for us. Out of nowhere. I mean, the weather in Jamaica is pretty predictable. It's like they kind of saying, like, if once it starts raining, it doesn't stop, and once it stops raining, it doesn't start, kind of thing, you know. And so this was so weird, and it just like came in, and it actually this was not the one that was for the guy. There was a lady that was the factor in this one. No. That started when we were inside. That one was some crazy shit. I saw this lady interact with the storm like it wasn't. It's not so much as they're having the influence over it as we or you or they can become kind of part of the energy, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
the first one where we're on the beach, this guy that's like just fucking came at this dude, man. And like as I saw it coming, I was like, this shit ain't normal. This ain't no normal storm, you know. And so I'd never seen anything like that. So I kind of gave it longer than I would have had I known what it was, you know, just trying to see, is this really coming? And it got up to the beach. It's like, yeah, we need to get back up to the house. It's about a 300-yard walk to the house, and every mushrooms are just coming on. And so we head back to the house, and big old lightning flash and a thunderclap, and that's what it was. The guy who experienced this storm coming 2 or 4, however, they were pulled together somehow. He said, "Do you really think we should go?" And when he said that, it was like boom, lightning clap, thunder. And so we're like, okay, fucking go. And so
Right.
we get up to the place where we would normally dose whenever it was raining or whatever. So it was already set up, but it was easy to slide into it. But this individual, he was 35-year-old. No, he wasn't. He was 25-year-old. And the storm comes in and just like is over top of the house for a minute. And he's there like kind of in this tormented state. And the storm passes and he gets up and starts talking about how he's in a nightmare horror house and he's lost his mind and he's never coming back. And like I'm, you know, there with him, spent a lot of time with him. And I was like, yeah, I think I was the only person he would even be around. But it was so fucking wild that night, dude. This guy went for hours, and then there are like a couple of highlights of it. But you know, he goes through this whole process of he's in nightmare horror house, and you're just there with him as he's going through, and finally he's dying in this nightmare house, and he's like on his knees screaming. This guy was raised devoutly Catholic, and he's on his knees screaming, "Jesus help me, God help me, Jesus help me, I'm dying, I'm dying." I mean, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and he doesn't die. And he realizes that he's not dying and he's not gonna die, like right as he's screaming, and nobody's showing up, and like I'm standing there like right beside him smiling because I know that this is when he's about to like break through it. And I'm just standing there smiling like, all right, keep it up. And he's like, they're in this pleading on his knees, you know. It's beautiful. And then nobody comes, and he looks around and he looks at me and he's like, I have to save myself. And it comes up out of the whole thing. And, you know, like, I think one of the interesting and beautiful parts about when those types of experiences happen, at least for me, there's some value there, is right at the cusp of realizing what's happening. I don't know if you've ever been there, but right at like in some of the first times when you lose your mind, there is this like right at the kind of edge of when you start to come back together. Like it's a nightmare horror show for 4 hours, right? And then
Right.
you think you're gonna die, you think you're gonna die, you think you're gonna die, 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 and then you don't die, and then like the clouds start to part a little bit, and there's this like just a window. It's just a very small window, a few minutes where you're like, oh wait, don't go. I don't want. I get it. I see how this thing works now. Don't kick me out just yet. Let me play some more. And that's what I saw in him that night. He was just like, as it started, he was screaming for hours to make it stop. Make it stop. Make it stop. And it's just like dissipating, and he's realizing he's not gonna die. He's like, wait, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I love these things, man.
Should have just calmed down and enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, you learn,
Yeah.
it's like, how many times have I found myself certain I was going to die? Like how many times, how many ways can the mushrooms trick you?
Yeah. Oh, I thought I was dead that first time that I had a big dose. I thought I was gone and exploded into space, and I was just particles floating through space, and then the next thing I knew, I was waking up butt ass naked in bed and not dead at all.
Not dead at all. Yeah. That is the mushroom. Man. Yeah, that's a glimpse into immortality, right? Into the never ending. I mean, what a powerful thing if we touch in on that more every day. Just remember a couple of times a day, like, I'm immortal. I will be forever. Like, how much fear does that immediately dismiss? How many little trivial things were you afraid of doing because of what someone else would think that you can immediately let go of because you live forever? You are forever. Jeez. Oh, that's been a deep one for me here lately.
I hate that I took you away from your laundry to talk about mushrooms.
Laundry's done. I almost showed you a picture of how good the laundry was looking there, but it's all, like I said, it's all the same, man. There's a lesson in there somewhere.
I thought I was watching the wrong podcast for a minute.
Yeah, I thought, man, people, what are they gonna think about this one? Give a fuck, right? I don't care. I'm doing this. If I keep this up, if we keep this conversation going, if the community can use this platform for what the vision of it I see, how much incredible information about such a rare topic, something that people are looking at as like, this is the future, right?
Yeah, and everybody can come on here and talk to everybody else.
And I'm gonna keep doing this, man. I love it. It's like, I don't know. I've been looking for a way. Even though I do give back a lot. I mean, I have given away, I have not charged, we're going to call it, for so many hours of my time, like very present hours of my time,
Right.
But I just feel like there needs to be somewhere where people can talk about psychedelics without all the kind of masking that's being done. And I'm not criticizing. Like, there are friends of mine who are involved in the broader psychedelic community and research companies and whatnot and production companies, and I'm not at all criticizing that. There is, like, that is one of the beautiful things about language, is it helps you move between spaces, right? And my very clear intention with this is that this space is just like where anything goes. Any normal, whatever you talk about around psilocybin, we need to be exploring that. And there's just like so much kind of like surface level kind of, the neuroplasticity and serotonin and blah, 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 blah. And there's like amazing things being discovered, like I talked about the telescope. I mean, this incredible new telescopic device that can show us like, wow, how much more beautiful and complicated and simple the universe is. So all that has incredible value, but then at the same time, like you gotta be able to sit down and get dirty with it, even in the way we discuss the experience, right? The psychedelic
Right.
experience is not a pretty thing often. A lot of like gritty crying and moaning and laughing and puking and
I was gonna say I've thrown up a few times.
pissing. I mean, people I, I had this one, and I tell these stories like I absolutely love and respect every single person that I have worked with, and I've tried to convey consistently that in sharing the experiences that I've had with people after a while, after times have passed, and like people's names, I'm not going to share names unless somebody wants to talk about their experience with me, but relating someone's experience, even though I recognize that there's a perspective that could say, I'm doing so irreverently, that it couldn't be more contrary to the case. I have such a great respect for these experiences, no matter what they look like. And I appreciate the healing and what they allow more than words can say. But
Mhm.
one of the greatest barriers that people have to letting go in the psychedelic experience is the um, the belief that letting go in this visceral, visible way is going to bring judgment upon you. This is another thing talking about the facilitator and how you
Yeah.
can't go in with judgment like the therapist we're talking about. Kind of track back to the therapist and who's best at facilitating people who have been through the shit, who had, whether it's a therapist or not, those are the people that are best because they're going to be able to see you go through your shit and not put guilt or any kind of shame or anything on you. And so telling these experiences of the wild stuff that people do, I feel like gives license to individuals to really dive into the experience more. And that's why I share it like that. And it is funny. I mean, it's a like I have told so many same stories about myself, the stupid, crazy things that have happened. It's and maybe that's speaking to similarly in terms of considering, the platform for not necessarily not at all irreverence, but plain speak and uh, a a platform or a communication style that works with kind of the comedy. I don't want to say comedy, but like with humor. It incorporates humor to help transfer ideas from topics that are normally difficult to broach. Right? That's like the humor and comedians have this real gift in being able to
Mhm.
bring new ideas and talk about very marginal or fringy topics because there's that uneasing in the comedic environment. So anyway, that was a
Yeah.
very, very long way of getting to the story where um, guy I was working with, beautiful, beautiful soul. This guy, I saw him make so much progress over the course of the week. But the very, very first trip, this guy's in his 70s. Very first trip, he is in a lawn chair, and there's like 5 other lawn chairs laid out beside him, like 3 on this side, 2 on this side, or whatever, a total of 6 lawn chairs, looking out over the ocean up on this kind of bluff with a big, nice balcony, and everything's beautiful lawn looking out over the ocean. And everybody's there. Most people, I think most of the 6 people had eye masks on, but this guy definitely had his eye shades on. And he was like an hour and a half in. And I'm just sitting there on the porch, just sitting there, watching it all. Everybody's just chilled in their chair, laid back, easy so far. And this guy, this guy stands up and just unzips his pants whips it out with the blindfolds on. He's got the blindfolds on, and just starts pissing right there. Like and it's a long piss, it's just, it's like unending. And like, people like look over and they're like, okay, what the fuck ever, and lay back. And it's like, I mean, once the horse is out of the barn, you know what I'm saying? Anybody putting that back in. So I'm just there letting the thing go. What are you gonna do? And then he just like zips it up and sits right back down, goes right back into his trip. And that was just the beginning of a very wild week with this very special individual. I saw things that I will probably never share with people there, because it was a wild one. Put it this way, the pinnacle of it was me standing there for about 2 hours with a garden hose, just chain smoking cigarettes because I didn't know what else to do, watering this naked man. Like, that's all he would have is be watered. He was only 7 grams, completely nonverbal, and the only thing he would have is himself just sitting there naked with water poured over him. And it was beautiful. Like, it was beautiful. Like, that freedom that he experienced through that, I know is with him and will always be with him. And so that's what I'm saying. I was like, that's the license I want to give people in a safe place. I mean, you can't do that in, like our neighborhood, that's not going down. But there are places and ways. Jamaica's a good one. Jamaica is so open to psilocybin now. And it's the yes.
I thought of doing kind of like what you've been talking about with the outdoor cultivation, where you make a like a campground, and in this campground you've got flower beds around it, and you've got a January, February, March. You got a flower bed for every month essentially. It's going to be really hard in a few of those months, like, January and February, to find anything that would fruit at that time. But nobody's going to want to be camping that time of year anyway. Right? So, but have it set up to where basically every month that you think people will be out there camping, you've got a flower bed that's fruiting mushrooms. And they pay to camp. The mushrooms are free.
Yeah.
But they can only take what they eat that night.
I love it. And I do start to think about liability with fresh mushrooms in particular. You just like turn people loose on some mushrooms. I mean, I used to have in Indiana, I had some hella mushroom parties. I would just I'd put a half pound in a bowl and of dry and put it there, and I had a bunch of fresh out. I'd have patches. I did a lot of outdoor big patches up there, and I just tell people have at it, and I mean it all went well, and people were, most people were reasonable. In Jamaica, there were some times where there were fresh mushrooms growing outdoors, and I found a guest trying to pick some and eat some. So that kind of, it does become a thing once you just start opening that door up. It can be a little tricky to manage. But
yeah, it would be.
My where I'm really trying to see sooner than later is a retirement community that psilocybin mushrooms are grown by the residents, either indoor or outdoor. They should be given free license. They have to stay on site. They have to be consumed by a resident, but they grow their own, pick their own in the wild. I mean, that's how I want to live out my days. I want to have a community where I can, if I am hobbling around on a walker, where I can still get to some ovoids or some outdoor cube beds or something,
For sure.
Hopefully by the time I'm 70, though, LSD is going to be, opened up for public use. Because that's the.
I don't know about LSD. I've not tried it, but I probably will if it ever becomes legal. But I'm not sure I would trust my neighborhood chemist.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got to know your source. That is 100%. But it's like psilocybin with the increased attention put on psychedelics, there is more and more legitimate
Yeah.
LSD around, and I think it's a really of course, I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal. That would be very stupid. But allegedly, I've consumed some LSD that's been really helpful for me, and various doses. I think for microdosing too, LSD is probably got a really strong place there, more so than psilocybin. I feel like, for me anyway. Everybody's different. I'm so grateful that they've helped you. Microdosing has helped you and so many people. It never really did. Psilocybin microdosing never really moved the needle for me. No.
Well, yeah. I'm trying the Amanita muscaria microdosing right now, and I'm not really getting anything from that. So.
Oh, see, now I benefit more from that.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Yeah.
And I've already got them all made up, so I'm going to continue it, but probably won't make any more up.
You just capsules or what?
Yeah, I did some capsules, and I think there's different ways. There's tinctures and stuff that may be better for that. I'm not sure, but I just try different things, and
how long
I had those sitting around, and they were just going to go to waste if I didn't use them for something. So,
right. How long have you been working with Amanita?
I've eaten the caps a few times.
In this particular stint with the microdosing, how long have you been doing the microdosing with it?
Oh, with the microdosing, 3 weeks maybe.
Right.
Not long, but
it is a reverse tolerance, right? Like, you need, the more you take, the more of an impact it has. So it's something to consider. But
yeah. I mean, I've had effects from it at higher doses. I'm not saying that it doesn't do anything for you, and it could also be that I'm just getting so the all the good effects from the psilocybin, and I'm just not even noticing the other, because shit's already good. I don't know.
Yeah, when you already feel good, that's your baseline. Then it's like, okay,
how good can you get?
Yeah.
Look at me.
Oh man, now it's really helped so many people, and it's so awesome to be seeing this come up. That really came up for me big on 4th of July. 2015, I was arrested on July 1st, I think, and it was like being in jail on the 4th of July over mushrooms was ironic, to a large extent, especially knowing
Right.
Veterans, PTSD, and all that. And it really kind of hit me pretty hard this year. It normally is a consideration. It's a reflection point for me anyway. But this year, I don't know. I feel like I gave myself more credit. I feel like I'm giving myself more like props than I ever have. Not like ego greedy or being like I'm the man, but like, fuck, I've been doing this for 22, 23 years, whatever it is now. I've been publicly, vocally saying psilocybin is the future, and to see where we're at now and know that I have, fought, in this fight, you writing this book and helping people learn and get their own access. Steven, after all these years, there's so many people who have been like devoting their life and so much energy to this information and got very little in return other than the satisfaction of seeing the information dispersed and the people being helped, which is really what it's all about, right?
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't have wrote the book if people weren't asking for a book. I was doing the Facebook page and the YouTube videos, and all that's for free, and I'm still doing it, and all the information is available for free to anybody that wants it.
So what more plans for another book?
I was maybe this winter. I wrote this one last winter, when everything's kind of slow. It didn't take me real long, and I was thinking maybe do an East Coast book from like North Carolina up to Maine or whatever. It's a lot of the same mushrooms, but then there's a few that are a little different. So that would be an easy one to do next. And then I don't know. I don't know what kind of desire there is even out there for books. I know on the West Coast there's books. I assume there's some desire. Yeah, I get it, but I mean,
No, I'm laughing because it's reality. Like that's real. Like, who do people care about books? Yeah, no.
Yeah, you never know. I mean,
yeah.
This book has gone pretty well, but I'm nobody also. So
I mean, where are you at right now? Do you know roughly where you're at?
How many sales? I've had roughly 110 sold, and I've given about 10 or 11 away.
Okay, that's
so about 120 out there.
Yeah, without any, I'm sure, I don't know, I would imagine that you didn't put a lot of marketing behind it. You just kind of put it out there into the community and let people know, and that's awesome.
Yeah. I was hoping to sell about 50 books, so it's gone above that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Who knows how, in 10 years, how many books will be sold. This has just not even been a year yet.
Well, I'd tell you what will be the biggest predictor on that is how passionate you stay about mushrooms. Because if you stay passionate, then people will keep coming back to your stuff, and
right.
You'll get fans, whatever.
And it may be a good selling point, and it may not be a good selling point. As things come up, I've been trying to update the book, so newer versions that as people are buying them, it's continually being updated. Now, that being said, some of the people bought them early. I apologize. Your book's out of date already. But, I'm doing my best.
Yeah, no, this is nature of information. And we're getting so much new, fresh information about psilocybin, especially in wild situ. It's so awesome to have. And I remember, dude, like probably the year 2000. That was September 11th, right? 2000? When that happened?
2001, wasn't it?
01? That year when I went full on mushroom, like before September 11th happened, I'd already been picking chanterelles and chicken in the woods and stuff. But that year, I remember that was when I went like full on mushroom, and I was reading Stamets' Psilocybin Mushrooms of the World, and just like knowing that there had to be so many more species out there that have not been found. And so, like, again, come back to this kind of like being in it for this period of time and seeing, more the information that's come out and the number of people who are getting into this and understanding the value that it adds to our lives. Woo!
Yeah,
man. No, that's another thing too. Yeah, just like feel like let ourselves rejoice in our accomplishments.
Yeah, it's amazing to me just looking back, 4 or 5 years, what's changed on mushrooms. It's astonishing how much has changed.
Look at this. If you'd have told me that this is what a cubensis would look like 5 years ago,
right.
Be crazy.
Yeah.
The enigmas and all, like, yeah. No, it's incredible. It's incredible. And here, this species, we've got an Aztecorum. I mean, that's like, looking at those books, I would fantasize about these exotic species, and Caryolessins is one that I've always fascination for since I've heard about it. But actually, you mentioned Caryolipes a minute ago. Can you talk a little bit more about that? That is similar to ovoids, but it's a midsummer mushroom. Is that right?
Yeah, they make. This is the first month they make an appearance, theoretically, but they really into the fall is when they're known to be mainly.
Okay.
But they grow on logs, hardwood logs. Generally, it's pretty rare to find them in mulch. When I first found my mushrooms in Indy, I was calling them Caryolipes because I knew they weren't ovoids. And the spores matched Caryolipes better than they matched ovoids, but the size of them was too big for Caryolipes. Caryolipes are little bitty things.
Yeah.
And I've never personally found them. I'm just going by the pictures I've seen. They're tiny. They're not very big things.
Yeah, they're like almost like mycenae, aren't they?
They're just tiny little.
Hey,
like that orange mycena.
Horny Kitty wants to know what's the name of your book.
Magic mushrooms of the upper. Find the camera. Magic mushrooms of the upper Midwest.
Ding ding ding, Horny Kitty. Hear that? Magic mushrooms of the upper Midwest also includes Amanita species, or just Gasawi.
Is that what one?
Is it?
It's Amanita muscaria variation Gasui.
Gasui. Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. That's how I pronounce it.
Yeah, I say Gasawi. You say Gasui.
You say it with confidence.
Yeah, you just say.
That's how you pronounce it, with confidence.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. No, man, it's really fascinating. And even just like the edible, seeing lion's mane and oyster being recognized, shiitake, that's one. Shiitake is one that I want to see naturalized. I know that it has naturalized in like Pennsylvania and some places where it's been grown longer. Yeah, but I'm hoping that I contributed to that. And in Indiana, you talk about a vision of glory that I never got to see fulfilled, but I hope some Amish did. I hope this one Amish guy that was really cool got to eat all those mushrooms. This big double trunk white oak split in half. I love this tree. To climb up in this tree and just sit with it. And anyway, it split in half, and just one branch fell off. One stayed up, and then one fell down. And I went along what fell down, and it was the diameter of it was probably 3 feet, you know what I mean? And had, of course, a lot of offshoot branches, big chingapin oak. And I went through that whole thing with a chainsaw and bore cut all through that entire tree, and inoculated it with shiitake sawdust. And we did that in 2015, which is the same year that I was the arrest and lost the farm and stuff. And so I never got to see it fruit. It would have probably fruited really good in like 2018 or 2019. It's probably still, if it ever started fruiting, which I'm sure it did. I put so much mycelium in there, then it's probably still fruiting. And I had a few different strains. I had this one strain that I called Goliath that just made these gargantuan shiitake caps. They were just stupid. They were the margins were much more frilly and not as nice and umbinate and firm as the others that I really preferred, but these were okay. And then the people like the size of them. So, God, I envision that so often. If you knew how many times I think about that and wonder whatever happened. Oh, oh man, that would have been God knows how many dozens of pounds, if not over 100 pounds of shiitake, log-grown shiitake every year for years. I mean, the logs that I brought here, I brought these logs here from the farm that I inoculated a couple of years before that tree. They were red oak and some chinkapin oak. And this is 2022. The ones in the compost fruited this year like 3 mushrooms. It's almost 10 years, 9 years. Right?
Wow.
Fruiting. It's pretty awesome. Mushrooms are amazing. Mushrooms are so amazing. So amazing. They're so adaptable and they have so much to teach us. And
yeah.
I'm so grateful for them and for them really contacting me. You know, I really directly feel like the mushrooms spoke to me years ago and had a mission for me, and I think that must be the same for you. I don't know if you heard it necessarily, but the work that you're doing and the passion that you embody,
they definitely talk through you.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, we're right about the 90-minute mark here. I appreciate you hopping on. It's made it more than me just folding laundry and philosophizing, which would have been okay too. There would have been value there as well. But I appreciate it.
I can always use laundry tips.
I'm telling you, I didn't like really show you how to fold or how I do the t-shirts versus the towels and the undies and all that stuff. But the main concept is you want to fold it into a nice little pocket, a nice little square,
And it sits upright.
and then you stand them upright. They're kind of like books, and then you just can see what you got right there in front of you. It's like your little file cabinet. I've
been doing it wrong all these years.
We all have been. It's not you. There's no blame here. There's no shame here. We were miseducated, and that's what we're all trying to do is just kind of help walk each other home. All right, man. I appreciate you. I'm gonna hop off here and see you again soon. I hope, brother.
Take it easy, man.
Everybody else, thanks for joining. And hit us up. Leave some info in the comments. Say something. Connect. Communicate. Let's engage.